Hi guys, you're listening to the Ready or Not podcast with me, Mabel Golden. This episode is going to be about career growth, and although this isn't a career development podcast, I actually feel like I could talk about this for ages. In fact, I feel like I do talk about this for ages, whether it's on my YouTube channel or just to my friends and to my boyfriend. I feel like this is a topic that is so dear to me and so important to me. So I've got loads of notes. I'm going to try and fit it all into one episode. And if you remember, the previous conversations that I've had on this podcast have all been about taking a step, taking a leap of faith, doing something for yourself, living intentionally, whether that's moving to a new country, starting a new job, whatever it is that you are doing, that is the real essence of this podcast. So I'm focusing on career growth today, but one of the key themes, I think, for me in 2023 is actually splitting career growth from personal growth. They are not the same thing. You don't have to be, your entire personality doesn't have to be your career. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think that's something that's quite a new learning for me. So we're going to get onto that a little bit more in this podcast. I'm also so pleased to be doing an episode on career development because I get so many questions about social media careers, about finding a job in Dubai. I get so many questions like that on social media. So I really wanted to just put some time in where I could actually talk about my career growth journey, give some tips, and hopefully you'll find this really, really valuable. So I actually, on my TikTok, this was, I think 2 days ago, I posted a video where I talked about my journey and my kind of 5-year journey, or even 5.5 years since I finished studying and got my first job and I moved out here to Dubai. So I thought I would actually start there, and I wanted to start by just sharing this journey with you, how I actually got to this point where I am managing a social media agency, working for myself. I think a lot of the goals that I set for myself 2 years ago or even just a year ago have become reality, and I wanted to share the kind of 5-year journey, how I got there. So let's go back in time to 2017. This is where I started the TikTok posts as well. I had just finished studying, and I studied fashion marketing and business at the Fashion Retail Academy in London. And before that, I actually studied musical theatre, okay? So this was already totally new for me. And I knew I was leaving college and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to go to university. I don't want to go to drama school. I want to do something in fashion. I had a fashion blog at the time. I loved clothes. I love fashion. And I kind of didn't realize all the jobs that were within fashion. So I did a course that was quite general, marketing and business. We covered a lot of different topics. And what really drew me to this course was that it was a short course. It was just 6 months. That excited me because I was so ready to get out into the world and get my first job and just be doing it. That was what I was desperate for. So I went down to London, studied this course. This is actually where I met my best friends, and while I was on the course, I kind of understood that I loved content. I love making things. I do consider myself very creative. I've always loved art and theatre, and yeah, I just realized, you know what? Content can be a job. Content marketing is important for fashion brands, and I set myself a goal to work for a fast fashion brand in Manchester. And I feel like in 2017, you're talking PLT, Misguided. I ended up getting my first job at I Saw It First. And I actually only worked there 5 months because as excited as I was to get out into the real world, it also hit me very hard just how challenging some office jobs or startup jobs can be. And I found it very difficult. I was the youngest person by far in the office. I was learning as I go, and now I'm reflecting on it. I realized that it wasn't really the environment that would have suited someone who has just graduated. Okay, I needed kind of people that could mentor me and that I could look up to. I didn't really get that at this job, so I actually decided to quit, and it was a very difficult time for me. I was very just upset with the way my career was going. I didn't enjoy it. It always feels extra heartbreaking when you want something so, so badly and it's not what you thought and you've essentially changed your mind. And it hurt. It was hard, but I decided that I should quit, and I'm so glad I made that decision. I actually quit before I got another job offer. I was that sick of this job that I just did what I really felt like was right for me. I really followed my gut and I decided to hand my notice in. Meanwhile, I had been sat at my desk looking for jobs, and I remember just thinking, okay, I'm looking for jobs in London, but why not look for jobs further? And I changed the the search filters on LinkedIn to worldwide, and that's where I saw the job at Namshi listed. I'm going to jump ahead because I feel like I could really, I could talk so much about my move to Dubai, but I've done that a lot in my previous episodes already. Long story short, I got offered a new job at a different office, completely different environment. It was much more corporate. It was much more, it kind of felt safe, I want to say. It wasn't that startup environment anymore. It was much more a place where I could truly make some mistakes and learn from the people that were, more senior than me in my team. And yes, I really did that. I did a lot of learning, but I quickly grew quite frustrated because it did feel like I wanted a bit more. And I do consider myself somebody that really was part of the Great Resignation. For those of you that don't know, the Great Resignation is a kind of wave of people that handed in their notice during COVID when they realized that they want something different, something more. And I had my absolute heart set on being able to remote work and, more importantly, just moving up the career ladder. I really, really wanted to progress. I was very ambitious and I really, really wanted to take that next step, and they couldn't offer me that. I managed to secure myself a new job. Then that offer then fell through because of COVID. Luckily, I reached out to another fashion brand, worked for there for 1 year, but I remember all through that year, I was still thinking, you know what? There's so many amazing entrepreneurial minds in this business. I feel like I could do that. That's what I really felt. I really felt inspired by the people that I was working with that had started their own businesses. And I actually remember saying to Connor, my boyfriend, like, oh, sometimes my boss, she gets so excited about these projects. And I kind of think, wow, like, take a break sometimes. But now I actually see that in myself. When it's your own project, you really do have a next level of drive, if you like. That's my takeaway, is that I used to kind of think, OMG, take a chill pill. And now I'm the person that needs a chill pill, seriously. So because I've kind of had all these different stages in my career, I've worked at a startup, I've worked in the office, I've worked for another startup with all this entrepreneurial energy, and then I've been a freelancer as well. I feel like I've been so heavily involved in my own career satisfaction, and it does mean so much to me. For me, doing a job for 50 years and not enjoying it, sounded like hell. That's not an option for me. I never wanted that for myself. And I think that's why I took so much action to try and sculpt and design a career that I truly loved and truly satisfies me. And I've done that by a lot of different ways. First of all, in fact, we could take it back even to when I started, studying. And I did a complete 180 and went from doing musical theatre to fashion business. And I remember I recorded myself talking about my part-time job at ABSEILING, a handbag shop. And luckily they gave me a place, even though I'd never studied business or done business A-level or anything. So I think I've always just really wanted to intentionally take charge of my journey in my career. And that's why I really love being able to give advice and give career advice. I've done applying for jobs across the world. I've written that CV, and I've spent so much time helping my friends with CVs in the past. It's something that really interests me. And I feel quite strongly that taking those intentional steps is so important in your own career journey. And that's my advice for anyone, is to be intentional with your career path. And you're probably, you know, I'm sure there's going to be people that are listening to this and think, what if you don't know what you want? To that, I say that's fine. Pick something and try it out. It doesn't need to be forever. I think a lot of people assume that once they go into a job, once they go into a certain career, they have to stick to it. And I just think that is not the case anymore. Not in 2023. You can be a multi-hyphenate. You can do one thing for a year, try it out, and then you can do something else. And I love that. I actually really, really love that for our generation. And I love that we can be so intentional with our careers and our own career journeys. Now, for anyone listening, I would really like to encourage you to reflect on your career journey so far and reflect on the kind of things that you want from your career. And please hear me when I say this does not need to be, you know, oh, I want to be CEO, or it doesn't need to be these typical professional milestones. Like I said at the start of this podcast, this is something that I've been learning for myself over the past couple of years. And I think we do need to start being honest about having the conversations about what do you want from your job in terms of your salary? What do you want from it in terms of your working hours? What do you want in terms of your benefits? And luckily, employers are starting to be more lenient towards remote working since COVID, and, you know, allowing you to maybe work from England, for example. If you live here in Dubai, that's a perk that I've noticed a lot of my friends in jobs have recently been getting. And I'm so glad to see that, because I really think it's so important to think about the kinds of day-to-day benefits, activities. How do you want to spend your time? Not just from a professional point of view, but how does that impact your personal life? If it feels quite overwhelming to you to think about what you want in your career, try and think of the short term. Now, I know that some career advice out there will probably talk about a 10-year goal or a 5-year goal. I really feel like you can even just look at the next year and think about, what do you want to be doing? What really makes you feel that energy inside yourself and that love for what you're doing, whether it's being creative, you know, or whether it's working with people that, you know, you admire. What are those aspects of your job, and work backwards from there? That being said, I also want to take a moment to just recognize that sometimes what you think you wanted turns out to be not what you thought. And it's definitely okay to try something new. I was desperate for, you know, the role that I applied for when I first moved to Dubai. And, you know, you can try something out for a few years and then it's okay to change your mind. I think it's so refreshing now that I'm seeing so many people on social media starting their own business if they want to, or starting a new job, that, you know, quitting the old thing they've been in for years. And I just think, don't be afraid of what people will think of you. Don't be afraid to try something new for yourself. It doesn't need to be forever. I would say to anyone, not just in their professional career, but also anything in life, if there's a part of you that wants to try it out, I want you to indulge that part of yourself and give yourself that chance. Okay, so one common theme that has actually been present throughout my career is mentorship. And this has been a theme since my first job, in fact, when things were a little bit chaotic. I remember I found somebody that was good at their job, that I admired, that had skills that I wanted, and I managed to learn so much from them. And I really found that person in every single job that I've had. And I find it so important. Having someone that is a mentor that you can learn from is the best thing you can do for your career. You know, I've had the amazing opportunity to work with so many women in business who have so many skills that are vital to what I do now. You know, I remember when I was working at Namshi, for example, I remember saying to my manager, I just don't know how you know what to say in meetings. You know, something that I find now, me in 2023, I could lead a meeting, you know, with no prep time. Actually, I probably shouldn't be bragging about that. I remember saying to her, I want to have that initiative. I want to be able to know what to do in situations. And she said to me, that just comes from experience. And it's so true, it does. But you can learn by the people around you and learn from the influence that they have. Another example is when I had the opportunity to work with Lulabells in LA. Now, this was an amazing opportunity for me because to see the CEO in action and how she handles situations and how she directed her team, how she made each of them feel so important and so valuable, even how she managed me and how she made me feel so motivated and so desperate to do a good job. I just thought that was such an incredible way to lead a team. And I remember thinking, I want to be a leader like that. I want to be able to lead a team and make my team feel as excited and as motivated as she's made me feel. I attended the Arabian Business Women in Business Conference recently. I think this was last month. And this was another topic that they covered there. It was amazing to hear from so many women that worked in completely different fields to me, such massive companies. And it was a real overarching theme that mentorship and support was so important to all of their career journeys. And I love to hear that. I love that women in senior positions can support entry-level roles, even graduates, even interns. And I do think that's so important. Now, if you're listening to this and you're at the start of your career, even if you're not 100% sure on what you want to be doing, it might not even be marketing or anything creative, anything remotely similar to what I do, that's absolutely fine. I would like you to analyze your network of people. It doesn't just need to be your Instagram following. Analyze who you're taking inspiration from. Who are the leaders in your life, and what aspects of their roles do you find interesting? What aspects of their life do you find aspirational? How could you maybe take some mentorship from them? It doesn't even need to be like a formal mentorship. It could be something as simple as having a coffee once or twice a year and hearing from their experiences and taking their advice. What do they think your next career move should be? I especially advise this for people who have just finished studying, and I'm speaking from my own experience. If you've just finished studying and you're ready to start working, especially in marketing, especially in social media marketing, I really urge you to find somebody that is already working in social media marketing that can give you that kind of status update of what's happening in the world of social media marketing. What tools are social media managers using? It's these kind of details, that can be for any industry. It's these kind of details that are going to set you apart from other graduates. The thing with formal education and typical courses is that they will cover all of the theory of doing the role, but they don't cover any of the practicalities of working in that role. And that's what I really think mentorship can bridge that gap. It can bridge that knowledge gap of what you learned at university versus what you need to be actually working in marketing or in your desired industry. One piece of advice that I love is really networking. And I think a lot of people do get confused about what networking for professional career growth is. Networking is forming connections, but you do need to put work into those connections. You do need to follow up with people. You do need to take a genuine interest in what they're doing. And it does need to be a true relationship. It cannot feel like you're picking their brain and, it not fostering a genuine relationship. I really advise people to be genuine in and be authentic in who they are networking with and find people that you truly resonate with. And I would advise you to not underestimate the power of having an online network. Now, what is the good of starting a new service in your business, for example, if nobody knows that you're doing it? You really do need to be confident enough to share this with your online network. And I am excited to announce that I do have a mentorship available. This is essentially here to supercharge your social media career, whether you're looking to go freelance, work remotely, start an agency, start a side hustle. I'm essentially going to share all the tips and tricks, share the mistakes that I learned so you don't have to when it comes to building your career in social media marketing. The length of the mentorship is 90 days, and during this time, you'll have one-to-one coaching calls with myself. You'll also have access to online resources where I have personally poured everything I've learned into online courses for you to watch at your own time, at your own pace. There's also tasks for you to complete to help you support your progress on the journey. I'm really looking for people that are ready to take their career to the next level. I'm looking for people that do have the time to put into this mentorship program. The places on the mentorship are limited, so please send me a message on Instagram if you are interested. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ready or Not podcast. I hope you found it valuable and it helped you reflect a little bit on your career journey so far. I would really appreciate it if you left a thumbs up on this YouTube video for those of you that are watching on YouTube, or if you can rate my podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I would really appreciate it. Now, do let me know what kind of podcasts topics you would like me to cover in the future. I would love to hear from you. I always love hearing your suggestions. And if you have any other questions, don't hesitate to message me on Instagram.